So I was planning on starting off this video with a highlight reel of some of the awesome things I've done over the past 2 years since I quit social media. But I'm realizing now that is the same kind of stuff made me feel very excluded when I saw it on those apps. So instead I want to tell you guys a story. When I was in 8th grade, I went on a vacation with some extended family to Europe. And the entire trip, all I could think about was getting a cool photo for Instagram. Because if I didn't get that picture, the whole trip didn't happen as far as I was concerned. And I got one. We were in the catacombs under Paris, which are these underground tunnels filled with the skeletons of dead people. It sounds kind of weird now that I'm saying it, but it's a big tourist attraction. And when I first did my Instagram, I had almost like 18, 20 followers, and all the popular kids had a few hundred. So I got a few hundred of these fake followers that were just totally inactive. To make it seem like my Instagram was like normal, I had to get a bunch of fake likes with the fake followers. So remember that night when I posted the photo, I spent 5 hours just liking photos in the like for like hashtag to get likes for my photo to make it seem like it was a normal Instagram instead of sleeping. And I cringed so incredibly hard thinking back on that memory because I gave up my sleep and my fun the next day just to impress people on, not even that, just to feel some sense of acceptance, because at the time I derived a lot of my self-worth out of the interactions I was getting in those apps. How many followers I had, how many likes I had, comments, all that stuff. And although I think most of us can't probably relate to a story that extreme, I think a lot of us deal with not living life to the fullest because of these apps or having them exemplify one or more of our insecurities. So this video, I want to tell you guys about why I decided to quit social media, as crazy as that might sound now to you guys, and what happened after. So let's get into it. The backstory is the summer going into my sophomore year of college, I just felt like a complete loser. Like I was seeing all these people get into prestigious tech internships when I couldn't land a single interview. I was seeing my friends go on these awesome vacations, and a lot of these cute girls I could never go on a date with, guys way more jacked than me. And I just felt like I was existing, stuck making 18 bucks an hour, working a front-end job, going to the gym. And even though by, a lot of standards at the time, I was doing pretty well for someone my age, and I was being told that constantly, I was just mindlessly scrolling on these apps, just mouth breathing, feeling like crap. Now that I'm actually thinking back to that time, I'm realizing how much those apps are hurting my self-esteem, which is just something most guys don't talk about. Because let's just say I bought a cool gaming PC, I would see an ad or a post for an even better gaming PC, and I just feel like I don't have the best thing, so I didn't feel as good about myself. Similarly, the big thing here was with the gym. I was being pretty consistent with it. I was seeing some good progress for about 2 years into lifting. But I'd see these guys just absolutely yoked, selling these supplements mostly. And I just feel like my gains were so minuscule because I didn't look like these guys. And then by the grace of the mighty YouTube algorithm, I stumbled across Matt D'Avella's video on him quitting social media for 30 days. And when I saw that, the first thing that popped in my head was, oh, I could never do that, because what if, one of my friends tags me on something? What if someone follows me and looks bad not to follow them back? Or I get, a DM from a cute girl, even though that had never happened at the time. So all these thoughts popped in my head about why I couldn't quit social media. But around a week later, I realized that I have nothing better to do. And that was one of the few times early on in my life where I took a big leap of faith and I decided I was gonna start this challenge for 30 days. After I made a post about it, obviously. And those 30 days were pretty astounding. I remember the first few things I felt were immediate better sleep and much more productivity. But look at an extra 5 or 6 hours in the day just to get stuff done. And I looked at my screen time once or twice. I was too embarrassed to do it mostly, but I noticed I was spending about 5 hours on these apps during the day, which is pretty sad to admit. The biggest thing for me though was my eyes. I felt like I had 20/20 vision for the first time ever. Just constantly staring at my phone for the past 5-6 years, just squinting all the time. And when I put it down, I just felt like I was seeing in 4K Retina HD. Everything was much more clear and my eyes got the much needed break that they needed. I will admit though, I did have some pretty apparent withdrawal effects from this challenge. I would compulsively check my phone for no reason, just 12, 15 times an hour, just pick it up, put it back down. 2 minutes later, just pick it up and put it back down, even though there'd been no sign of any activity. And the other thing was I'd have these phantom vibrations where I could have swore my phone just buzzed, even though I didn't even have my phone in my pocket, or it was just no activity went on in the phone. The biggest one though was I felt very restless because I would check these apps constantly. When I woke up, got out of the shower, before I went to bed, when I got back from the gym, just all the time I was on these apps. So I didn't have anything to fill in that time. I wasn't big into playing video games at the time, but when I did play, I noticed the second the game ended, I'd go straight to my phone and find something else to distract me because I just needed some sort of stimulation. But fun fact though, that restlessness led me to actually do something with my time, and I started this YouTube channel during that 30-day challenge. So had I not done that, I might have not ever been on YouTube. As those 30 days were winding down, I was quite excited to check my phone. And when I actually opened it and put those apps back on, I was met with just pure disappointment. Like nothing at all would happen in those 30 days. I got maybe 1 or 2 followers, someone left a comment, just same girls posting their thirst trap, same dudes posting photos every now and then. There was nothing on that. But I felt so great during that challenge. I didn't want to go back to that mediocrity life of just constantly being on these apps. So I made the move to remove all the apps from my phone, except for like Snapchat, and just use them on my computer. And I also permanently deleted my Facebook since I've never used it. And then over the next year, as I cut down on my usage and deleted an app every few months because I wasn't really using all of them, it was mostly just Instagram and Snapchat, I noticed the biggest change that I was feeling was being more confident and less lonely. And there's 4 main things I attribute to this. The first one is obviously when you constantly see other people having more fun than you, doing better things, being more jacked, and just you see them as higher in society compared to you, that hurts your self-esteem, and that changes how you interact with people on a regular day-to-day basis. The other big one was you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. I remember when Friday night rolled around, I would just feel like such a loser because I had nothing to do that whole weekend basically. And I would see everyone posting Snapchat stories, being out at parties or getting get-togethers or doing all this fun stuff. I would like rewatch some of those stories like multiple times, just feeling so down. But when you take that stuff out, just basic Friday nights of just studying to get ahead on your like exam or some paperwork coming up, or just getting Mexican food with some friends just feels a million times better because you're not constantly comparing it to what everyone else is doing. The other thing is that you stop obsessing over other people, crushes, exes, people you don't like. God, with crushes especially, I remember I would spend so much time just looking at what guys liked my crush's photos or seeing like, you know, who was commenting, and I'm just, God, I cringe so hard looking back on that. And you know, with people you don't like, you're comparing to see, oh, what have they accomplished? Am I beating them? This and that. And with exes, of course, not a good route to go down. The other thing was you stopped needing validation from other people. I could be having a great day, but like, and I know girls say this especially, I'm kind of ashamed to say it as a guy, but if I didn't get enough likes on a photo, I just wouldn't feel that great. I'd be like, what is wrong with me? What's wrong with the photo? And it just made me feel down for the rest of the day. The one other thing, it's a bit of a tangent, is I realized that kind of just looking into this stuff and researching it is that stuff you see on social media, like it is not real. I know all of us like kind of know this, but like I know how to use Photoshop and Illustrator and all that stuff. So I could take in 5 minutes a skinny guy and make him absolutely jacked, like absolutely jacked. And at first glance, you couldn't even tell it was Photoshop. There's a lot of subtle things happening you guys aren't realizing. Similarly with TikTok, they recently, in all the TikToks you've posted, they add a 1%, just a very tiny beauty filter to make your face look a little prettier and kind of slim your waist or whatever. So what you're seeing in those apps, even with your smartphone cameras, that's a different story, just is not reality, and that will hurt you compared to what you see in the mirror and in your day-to-day life. I also saw the biggest improvements to my energy level, attention span / focus. You know when you take batteries out of a remote after a very long time and they're all yellow and crusty at the edges? That is how my brain used to feel. Like I could not focus on anything for longer than 2 minutes without me going straight to my phone and just doing nothing, just checking, opening Gmail, closing it, opening up Instagram, closing it. And when I quit these apps, I noticed over time I could just focus longer and longer. There was one time in particular when I was writing a piece of code for one of my programming classes, and I wrote 2 functions. It took me about 15 minutes to write it. And I remember just thinking like, wait, I just stayed focused for 15 minutes. I cannot remember in years when I had stayed focused for that long before. So obviously and there's a lot of other improvements that happen over time, a lot of niche areas where your life gets better when you quit social media, but those are the 2 big ones. And with those, you physically feel better. Like you feel there's a little more air in your lungs, a little more jump in your step. I don't know why, I used to be very anxious. I don't attribute this fully to social media, but definitely you just feel lighter and more, just better overall. By the time the year ended, I just had 2 accounts left, Instagram and Snapchat. And I'll admit, these were very difficult for me to delete. I was constantly thinking in my head, like, I just can't do it. I've met so many people in the past 7 years. Friends in Chicago, I had random strangers I met on the bus, people I had a brief connection with, friends of friends. And for me to delete these apps, it was for me to just completely cut them off. And how would I contact them? How would they contact me? But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I have few friends that really mean a lot to me. Most of these people don't even really care about me. And if they did want to contact me, they really wanted to reach out to me, they would find some way to make it happen. They would get my email from someone, get my number from a friend, they would look me up on LinkedIn. They would find some way to make that connection, the same way I would if I wanted to contact someone else. So just realizing that, I made the final move and I deleted those apps, and I just felt this huge breath of fresh air after. It was just a wave of bliss washed over me because I felt like I was just finally free of just mostly comparing myself to other people and feeling like a sense of acceptance or self-worth. Like I could now get that from myself and not really rely too much on other people. And I forgot to mention this, but one other reason why I deleted these apps and I made that final cut was because at the time when I did it, there was the pandemic going on, we were locked down in California, there was all these riots happening, just the world was going crazy. And I constantly felt these apps just pulling me, making me feel so incredibly polarized about my opinions I didn't like. And I could really feel like, okay, at this point, they're just using me. I'm not getting a benefit from these apps at all. I was so anxious about what would happen next. So I made that final move, and yeah, it was the best feeling ever. And in the following 2 years, life has been completely phenomenal. It feels great to go somewhere and not worry about having to take a cool photo. You cherish time with your friends and family more because you don't constantly have them in front of you. And this one other thing, which is a bit hard to explain, but you feel less numb to the world. So when you're on these apps, you're seeing these photos of, amazing sunsets and mountain ranges and these, cool like scenery stuff, for example. So when you actually go, hiking, or you go to Yosemite or something and you see a really awesome view, it numbs you down. You're used to seeing so many better, more impressive views right when the light is kind of, it's this purplish orange, these beautiful sunsets. So when you experience real things in life, they're much more enjoyable. It wasn't all great though. I did come to realize that I had very, very, very few friends. There were a ton of people I was in group chats with, sending memes to, DMing each other, commenting each other's names under, somewhat funny memes. But once I got off those apps, I rarely ever heard from those people. And I didn't feel bad about that though, because when I was actually hanging out with friends in real life, or we were texting each other, it made me value them much more. It also pushed me to interact with more people in real life, mainly at the gym, and make friends that way. And then quitting also did push me to go out and do things in the real world, go to events, make friends, have fun, instead of just being at home sitting on my couch. Which is because I moved to 2 or 3 new cities since I deleted those apps, and I know for a fact, had I had those apps on my phone, I would have not have actually made that push to go outside and meet new people and interact like that. And the last two things I want to close with, which are kind of random. I should have scripted out this video much better. I think I've gone on these tiny rants throughout this whole thing. Is why I was even on these apps in the first place. I think thinking back all those years, I think it was just a fear of missing out, that everyone else was on it, so I had to be on it. But that really turned into this compulsive checking, and for me kind of exemplified my biggest insecurity of wanting to be loved or appreciated by as many people as possible. And the other thing is, you become such a big consumer when you're on these apps. Like, you are consuming content and these companies are making money off of you. You're sitting there endlessly scrolling and just breathing through your mouth, which is bad for you guys should stop doing. You start to when you just think about it, you're making these companies money through advertising. It puts you in a mindset of, I should buy this new product that showed up in my advertisement, and I need to go watch this new garbage Snapchat episode on the right side of the screen. You guys should be out making something, producing something, especially when you're young. And when you come back home from school and you're just immediately on these apps, you're spending your weekends all the time on these apps or playing video games, you become, instead of a producer, someone that's gonna make money and become successful, you become a consumer, just eating content and making money from other people. And that is my experience quitting social media. I'm realizing right now that the audio died in my microphone, so it's gonna be pretty poor and come from the camera. Sorry about that, but I'm not gonna re-record this entire video. That is just way too much work and all the emotions out of me now. So I hope you guys did take something away from this. I know it seems like an impossible pill to swallow, like quitting social media. That's how I felt at the time. And even if you don't, at least at the very least, just consider how these apps might be affecting you, and at least just take 10, 20, 30 days off them to see what your life would be like without them, or get a glimpse of that. So with that being said, you guys can always let me know your experience, anything I missed in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next week.